Hey guys, welcome back to Creativity Made Easy. It's Meryem here. So this week I want to share with you a backdrop that I made for an upcoming bridal shower that I'm going to throw for a cousin of mine. So for this backdrop, I only made two kinds of flowers, so there's only two templates that you would need to download, and I'm going to leave those templates in the description box. You can download them from my website, and I'll have links for that available there. So if you're interested, stick around and I'll show you how I did it. So first we're going to need to build the frame of the backdrop. For this, you're going to need 5 sheets of foam board from the Dollar Tree, and I used 4 of them just to make like a square shape, and the 5th sheet I cut in half horizontally and put one piece on either side. And then I just used Dollar Tree tape to tape all the pieces together. Make sure that you put tape on the front and then flip it over and then tape all the seams on the back as well. So I purchased 2 of these 8-foot MDF molding pieces from Home Depot, and I got them cut in half over there so that I had 4 pieces that were 4 foot long each. I also purchased 4 of the block pieces for the corners. So I laid the 4 pieces on my backdrop, and then I used a utility knife to cut off any of the excess foam board. Next, I used liquid nails to attach the MDF boards to the foam board, and then also I added liquid nails to the back of each one of the blocks and added those to the corners as well. And then I used clamps to hold everything together and then let it dry for about 2 days. So after the border was completely dry, it was time to paint. Initially I wanted to paint the entire border white, but when I put it up against my curtains, the border was really blending in, didn't pop out at all. So I changed my mind and I went back later and I spray painted the entire border and frame this glossy gray that I purchased from Walmart. So at this step, what you're going to do is just paint your border and your frame gray. Okay, so now it's time to make the flowers for this tutorial. So I only made 2 kinds of flowers for this entire backdrop, the first of which is a rose. You can download the template in the description box. It's going to be template number 1. And I've actually done a detailed tutorial on how to make a paper flower rose in another video, so I'm going to leave that in the link. I'm going to leave a link for that in the description box as well. And you can just go ahead and skip to about 10 minutes into that other video to see how I made the rose. So I'm not going to go into detail here again. You can just see the overview of how I'm making the flower, but there's a full detailed video on that. And the other thing I will say is all the flowers for this backdrop have to be made with white cardstock paper. So here I'm actually using cream cardstock paper because my initial plan was to spray paint these flowers a desert rose gold, and it ended up looking brown, so I scrapped that idea and spray painted them white. So for you, I would say to make all the flowers in this video with white cardstock paper, and I purchased my paper from Hobby Lobby. So in total I made 6 medium roses and 1 large rose for this backdrop. So here is the second flower that I made for this tutorial. It's going to be template 2. You can download it in the description box below. I've done a tutorial for this flower before in the same video as the rose, but I'll quickly go over it again here. Okay, so first you're just going to download template 2 and cut out the different template sizes. So right now here I'm making a small flower for template 2. So for this you're going to need to trace and cut out 6 of the extra small petals on white cardstock paper, 6 small petals, and 6 medium petals. Then you're going to want to take your scissors and cut slits from the base of each of the petals to about 1/3 up the petal. Next, you're just going to use a butter knife to curl each of the petals away from you. Then I use my glue gun to glue the right flap of each of the petals onto the left flap. Finally, it was time to just assemble the flower. This part is really quick and easy. I just used a scrap piece of paper. First thing you're going to do is evenly glue your 6 medium petals to the scrap piece of paper, and then glue the 6 smaller petals inside those 6 medium ones, making sure that each one of your small petals goes directly in between two of the medium petals. And then finally add the last layer of the 6 extra small petals in between each of the small petals. Next, to make the center bud for the flower, I took an 8.5 by 10 sheet of white cardstock paper, cut it in half vertically, and then folded the 2 pieces in half, and then cut small slits along the folded edge all the way down on the paper. Then I used glue gun to just roll up the paper in on itself so that it made a bud. Then I glued the first bud in on the second bud and rolled two of them together to make one giant center bud for the flower. Then I just glued that to the center of the flower to complete the small flower. To make a medium-sized flower in the same template, you just have to add 8 petals of the large template. And then to make an extra large flower, which I made 2 for this backdrop, you have to add 8 of the extra large petal sizes to the flower on the outer border. So in total for this backdrop, I made 6 flowers using template 2. So next, after I made my 13 flowers using template 1 and 2, I spray painted my cream colored flowers with rose gold spray paint. The color transferred as brown, so just ignore this step because I did go back and spray paint these flowers white. Then next I set up my backdrop stand with my bedroom curtains. Then I had to hang the frame to the backdrop stand. So first I tried to use fishing line because it's clear, but that kept breaking, so it didn't work. So what I found what works is this brown twine that I purchased from the Dollar Tree. And I just poked a few holes in the foam board and used this brown twine to just tie knots and hang the frame to the backdrop stand. So after the frame was secured to the backdrop stand, I just went ahead and used my glue gun and added all the flowers that I had made to the backdrop stand. So in total, I had made 7 of the template 1 flowers, the roses, and 6 of the template 2 flowers. So for reference, as I'm gluing each one of the flowers, I've written here on the side how many of each petal I used to make the flower, as well as how many sheets I used to make that flower. Once again, you can download these templates at my website. I'm going to have a link for that in the description box. If you have any trouble downloading the templates, you can always just email me and then I can send them to you directly as well. So after all the flowers have been glued to the frame, you can see that there's a bunch of gaps that need to be filled. So a cheap and inexpensive way of filling those gaps are these tissue pom-poms that I found at the Dollar Tree. So these are super inexpensive. One garland has about 6 of these pom-poms in it. So I bought, I think, about 5 packs of these to fill up the entire frame. So as you can see here, when you're opening these pom-poms, I just did them flat because I was going to glue them in. So I didn't want to make them a ball because obviously one side of it, you're not going to see it. So I just opened them all to one side so that I could glue the flat surface to the frame. So after all the gaps were filled in with the pom-poms, I took my frame down, took it to the garage, and then I spray painted those brown flowers with my white spray paint. So after I had spray painted my flowers white, and while that paint was still wet, I went over it with this sparkle, like glitter paint that I had purchased from Walmart, and it created this crackling effect on the flowers that just looked really, really pretty. So this crackling effect was created from having a wet layer of paint on the flowers initially and then just going over it with the glitter paint. And then like I said earlier, the white frame was blending in too much with the backdrop, so I did go ahead and spray paint that gray. Then I went back and hung the frame to the backdrop stand again, and I purchased these wood block letters from Hobby Lobby, and I just painted them this baby pink and used fishing line to hang them from the backdrop stand. The size of the wood letters and everything is written in the description box. That's pretty much it. I think this backdrop actually turned out really, really elegant and pretty. The entire thing took me about 3 days to make, and that was mostly because paper flowers take a long time to make, but I think it was worth it. Please let me know what you guys think, and if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit that little notification bell so you are up to date with all my latest tutorials, and I will see you guys in another video, God willing. Bye!